If you go for the Citrix, what are the major components we have is we have the Citrix controller is that major component. And in order to install the Citrix controller, what we required is, so we required any of the Windows server edition. So we required the server like 2022, 2019, 2016. Okay. So these all the controllers we required. Okay. So for the installation, like main, we need to install the controllers. In the real time, how many controllers we will have?
Three or more.
Yeah, 3 or 4 controllers we may have. Okay, and these we required like need to be joined to the site. We need to join, and in the real time, these all the controllers also are going to install on either physical servers or VMs on hypervisor. Okay, that means these controllers also in the real time. 90% nowadays will have the hypervisors. On that hypervisors, those are running as the VMs, as a virtual machines. 10% maybe physical servers also. Then even storefront also. So we are going to install storefront also. 2 to 3 servers we are going to install as the storefront servers also we are going to install. So storefront servers also we are going to install. Those also mostly we require the Windows server itself, and that is also we are going to set up on. That is also we are going to set up on the VMs itself. Then we required one dedicated license server in the large scale environment, and some companies are going to keep RDS license server also on the same server. That means Citrix license server, RDS license server also may resides in the same server in the large scale environments also. Okay, then we have one SQL server dedicated. Okay, so in the small environments, what we can do is we can use the SQL server on the controller machine itself. That is SQL Server Express will come. But for the production environments, that is not possible. So now here we have the SQL server dedicated we have. Okay, so that's in the small environments what we are going to keep. In the small environments, what we are going to keep.
In controller itself, we will
Yeah,
use the
SQL Express
Express.
we are going to install. That SQL Express we are going to install on the controller server itself. Okay, so then we required VDS. Okay, so VDS maybe we may have if it is like VDA on single session. Okay, so if we have the single session, we may have hundreds of thousands of VDAs also. Okay, VD on multi-session OS. Okay, so we may have this also we may have 42,000 like that depends upon the scalability. Okay, so multi-session OS also we have 42,000, and this may be also hundreds of thousands. Those have been provisioned through. We don't maintain thousands, all those. We will provision them through PBS or MCS. So through the PBS or MCS, we are going to provision them. Okay. So those VDS depends upon the single session OS means Windows 10, Windows 11 we have. Multi-session OS means
Servers, Windows 2016.
Windows servers, those all. Okay. So those also 90% residing on the hypervisor itself. Okay. So VDS also in hypervisor or very less chances physical or cloud base. Okay, in the hybrid environment, those may be in the cloud base also, we are going to keep it. Okay, so these all that. And additionally, what we required is, if you are using MCS hypervisor is enough. If you have PDS, we required PBS servers also. Okay, so we required PBS servers, VDS, all those also is required. So that we'll discuss in the PBS environment. Okay, so then we required, okay, Active Directory from the Microsoft wise. We required Active Directory because all these are the enterprise products. All enterprise products mostly are going to be joined to the domain. Okay, so Active Directory, and we required for the networking wise and for the forward lookup and reverse lookup DNS server and DHCP server also. That means before installing our Citrix components, okay, so we required Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, all these also we need to set up on our environment. Okay, so then we need to install Active Directory also. We need to install on our servers. Okay, so for this, okay, so what we are doing is we are installing Active Directory on one VM. Active Directory we are installing on the one VM we are installing. Okay, so for we are using VMware workstation on our laptop to set up those VMs. Okay, in order to set up this environment, we are using the VMware workstation, and on the VMware workstation, we are going to set up say these environment. Okay, say in the real time, we don't use the VMware workstation. In the real time, we are going to use the hypervisors itself. Okay, so in the real time, we are going to use the hypervisors, but in this environment, we are going to use VMware workstation, we are going to use it. Okay, so in order to set up this, we are using the VMware workstation, but this is only for the lab purpose. In the real time, we are going to use VMware ESXi server and vSphere. Okay, so first, what is the prerequisite for that is, we require a Windows server. Okay, on that Windows server, we need to install Active Directory, DNS, and DHCP. Okay, so then, say if you make it one Windows server as Active Directory, that server is called as domain controller. A Windows server with Active Directory domain services role, that server is called as domain controller. We can't install Citrix controller. So we have the Citrix delivery controller or VDA on multi-session OS. On the delivery controller, we can't install Citrix delivery controller or Citrix VDA on multi-session OS. Anyhow, VDA on single session OS, what it required? Single session OS, what it required?
Windows 10 or Windows 11.
Windows 10 or Windows 11. That anyhow, Active Directory required a Windows server itself. Okay, that means if you have a Windows, like a Windows server, first server what we are doing? First Windows server what we are doing?
Installing Active Directory.
Active Directory, and even in the Active Directory itself, we have DNS and DHCP also. DNS and DHCP. Definitely, we need to go for the second server. On the second server, what we need to do?
Install delivery controller.
Yeah, we need to install the Citrix delivery controller. Okay, so in the small environment, Citrix delivery controller plus VDA on multi-session OS. Okay, VDA on the multi-session OS. Both can be reside on the same server. Okay, both can be reside on the same server, but that is only on the in our lab environment itself. In the real time, how it would be? In the real time, how it
Different
would be?
We
servers.
have different
Two
servers.
different servers is not at all recommended. Controllers and VDS on the same servers are not at all recommended. Only on the for our environment only we are going to install Citrix delivery controller VDA and multi-session OS on the same server. Okay. So, but if you want to use the MCS, if you want to use the MCS, okay, where our VDS should be?
Virtual or cloud.
Yes, so that on the VMware workstation is not possible. If we want to use MCS, our VA or session OS or multi-session OS need to decide on
Hypervisor or cloud.
hypervisor, or we can use Azure or AWS or GCP like this. On the cloud also we are going to install. Okay, that when we are going to use the MCS, we will discuss. And if you want to use PBS, we required
It may be physical or it may be virtual.
so here if you want to the PBS, we required PBS form, that means PBS servers, and like we required a database also for the PBS. The same Citrix database server itself can be used even for the PBS also. We required a PBS server and video on single session OS or multi-session OS can be installed on physical or virtual. Physical or virtual, we will convert that into VDisk. We have a term called VDisk in the PBS. Okay, so now here in the MCS, we will call that as a golden template. In the MCS, it's called as golden template. So now here it's called as PBS, in the PBS, we will call it as VDisk. Multiple devices are going to boot from that. Multiple devices are going to boot from that. Okay, then on the controller machine itself over the browser. Okay, so there PDA okay, so studio also, Citrix Studio is there for the administration purpose. We can install on the controller or on a separate machine also we can install. On the studio to controller we can connect. Studio to that controller we can connect. It's not mandatory, it should be on the controller machine itself. Or if you have the web studio on the controller, administrators can access it from the
Web Studio as well.
from the browser itself they can access. That administration is possible from the browser also. They can connect. Okay, so now what you need to do in your laptop is install VMware workstation. So we need to install the VMware workstation, install one Windows server. Okay, so once we install the Windows server, we can take a snapshot. The snapshot is one of the VMware feature. What is the advantage of snapshot? What is the advantage of the snapshot? Okay, so if you take a snapshot, the state of virtual machine can be stored. Okay, that means at the clean state you have taken the snapshot, right? Then if there is any problem comes, what we can do is if you have any misconfiguration or if you do any mistake, you no need to worry. You can just revert back to that. You can just revert back to that snapshot. Okay, we can just revert back to that snapshot. Then again, you no need to reconfigure from the scratch. Okay, so what is the advantage of taking the snapshot? What is the advantage of taking the snapshot?
We can revert our VM to the initial state.
Yeah, initial that snapshot state you can revert back. Okay, so that means if you can do a lot of R&D kind of things, different configurations. If you have a snapshot, very easily you can revert back to that. Very easily you can revert back to that state. You can easily revert back to that state. Easily we can revert back. Okay, so once we took the like a snapshot, once we took the snapshot, okay, so what we need to do is if you want, say we required one for AD, we required one Windows server and one for our like a Citrix delivery controller we required, right? Two times we no need to install. We can clone the. Okay, so what is the here the concept of cloning? If you want a similar kind of mission, we can just revert back to.
It
We
means
can,
copy, sir.
yeah, if you want a similar, a similar kind of copy of that server, we can copy by taking the clone of it. Okay. Then what is the advantage of having the clone?
We can copy the same server state to the other
Yeah.
servers.
So, but before installing the AD, we shouldn't copy. Okay. So we need to take a clone of it. Okay. So otherwise, what we need to do is we need to install two times the same server. We need to install the two times, but for the practice purpose, you can install two times also. Okay, but we need to set up two times the same server. We need to set up. Okay, so then we need to clone that Windows server also. Then before installing anything, okay, so once we install VM, okay, we need to install. Okay, on that VM, it's mandatory. We need to install VMware tools also. Okay, it's mandatory. We need to install VMware tools also. We need to install. on that VM, we need to install the VMware tools also we need to install. What is the purpose of VMware tools is by default that VM won't get all the drivers and all this. By installing the VMware tools itself, that VM will get more driver capabilities. Hence, before doing anything, one of the basic prerequisite is mandatory we need to install
VMware tools.
VMware tools. Okay. Instead of VMware workstation, if you want to use, you can use Oracle VirtualBox also. We can use. So Oracle VirtualBox also. So we can use on our server. Okay. So now assume. So we can go for the VMware workstation and for the training purpose or for the small environments, VMware workstation they're giving even at the free of cost also. Okay, so VMware workstation is available at free of cost. From the VMware site you can download and we need to install VMware workstation in my laptop. Already VMware workstation. Okay, not player. Install VMware workstation. Okay, so VMware workstation we will need to install. Okay, so now here this is the different VMs we can install. Okay, file. What we need to do is
Sir,
new
your
virtual.
voice is not clear, sir.
Is it fine now?
Yes, sir. No, it is fine.
Okay, so now here we need to install the VMware workstation. After installing VMware workstation, so later I'll update this. We need to install like a new VM we need to install. For that, what we need to do is file new virtual mission. File new virtual mission, and we need to download even Windows Server 2016 or 2019 ISO also we need to download. Okay, then here you need to keep the ISO of that. Okay, then here I'm going to keep that ISO image. Okay, so here I'm going to keep that ISO image. If you have that Windows Server ISO image, you need to keep. Okay, I have deleted that. I'll download that ISO. Okay, so once we download that ISO, okay, then what we need to do is, so which OS you have. So here we know, right? If you don't know, we don't need to worry. But choose 2016 or 2019. We need to select. Okay, then you give the name for this and in the which location all these files are going to store. In which file that location that files are going to store, and better to give minimum 40 to 60 GB for the Windows Server. Better to have 60 GB, and better to store that files in your local system. Those files are going to store. Okay, so better to split into multiple files. If you want to copy also, it's easy if you split that into multiple files. Okay, so then here if you want to customize any RAM, all these also we can assign. Okay, so then we need to click on the finish. Say here you can set up how much RAM you want, how much processors you want. Okay, better to give 2 and network adapter. We are keeping NAT itself. We are going to keep in the NAT. Okay, then in my laptop itself, once you install VMware Workstation, okay, that means on your laptop or if you have a physical server, okay, where VMware Workstation has been installed. So where VMware Workstation has been installed. Okay, so we have one service. Say go to your services.msc. Okay, so that means this is not in the VM in your physical machine itself or in your laptop. We need to disable one service. What is that service? We'll discuss. Say we have installed VMware Workstation. After that only this service we will get. Yeah, here we have one service, right? VMware DHCP service. Okay, so VMware DHCP service. So better to stop it and disable this. Okay, so now for VMs, VMware DHCP service will assign the IP address. Okay, but in our environment, who need to assign the IP address?
DHCP only.
Yeah, our own DHCP server need to assign the IP address. Okay, in our environment, we are going to configure one DHCP server that need to assign the IP address. Okay, for that what we need to do? For that what we are doing is we are going to create our own DHCP
DHCP.
server, but we need to disable that the DHCP service we need to disable. Otherwise, in the NAT, we are going to keep in the NAT. Okay, by default, if you keep in the bridge, okay, uh, it's going to communicate over the outside network also, but we need to keep our VMs. Okay, keep VM in NAT, not in the bridge. Internally, they will communicate, not with the outside network. Outside network, if you keep in the bridge, they're going to communicate, but in our lab environment, keep in the VM in the NAT environment itself. Okay, and one of the prerequisite is that VMware DHCP service we should stop and disable that. That should be stopped and disabled. Okay, then we need to install Active Directory. Say here I'll go for one server assume. Say here assume this one Windows server we have. Those files I have removed, I think. Yeah, let it be here. So now here, once you install this, you can take a snapshot of this. Say here we have three buttons, right? First one is to take a snapshot. Assume it's a clean state of snapshot. Okay, take a snapshot. Okay, it is taking the snapshot. Once you take the snapshot, what this will do is, if you want to revert back to that state, we can use. If you have the multiple snapshots from the snapshot manager, you can revert back to the state to which snapshot you want to go, revert back. So I want to go with the base image, then I can go to this snapshot or with ADDNS or with all configurations. I took the different snapshots. What is the advantage of the having the snapshots? What is the advantage of the snapshots?
To revert the VM state to the previous
Yeah,
state.
to the previous state we can revert. Even if you do any mistake also, you no need to worry. If you have a snapshot, you can revert back to that state. You can revert back to that state. You can revert back. Okay. So then what we can do is, say suppose you want a similar kind of another VM. Okay, then what you can do is, so now here in the manage, you can clone it. You can clone the similar kind of mission also. Okay, so what is the advantage of having a clone?
Exact copy of the virtual machine we get.
Yeah, again installing the complete virtual machine, you just
Right.
can clone that. Okay, so now here we can manage the snapshot also here. We can manage the snapshots also, and here what are the things we can do is we can just start up that power on, power off, all these also we can perform, and even we can import also. Okay, so then here just go through this. What are the things we can perform from the VM wise? And once you install this, it's mandatory. We need to install VMware tools also. I have already installed the VMware tools, but from this you can install the VMware tools also. It's mandatory. We need to install. It's mandatory. We need to install VMware tools. Okay. So then on that AD, on that first mission, we need to install Active Directory. All these should be installed on that AD. We need to install that Active Directory. All those we need to install. And once you install the Active Directory, all this. So in order to install the Active Directory, one of the prerequisite is, so we need to install AD, DNS, DHCP is we need to install. The static IP is one of the prerequisite. Okay, so what is the prerequisite? Static IP address is one of the prerequisite for Active Directory. Okay, so we need to have the Active Directory on the first mission. On that, we required first mission. We need to install the prerequisite is Active Directory. We need to install, and static IP is the prerequisite. Before that, definitely it's required VMware tools and all those. Then need to set up that AD, DNS, DHCP, how to set up these. I'll share one more video according to that setup. Otherwise, I'll show on the tomorrow session. And you no need to worry about doing the right steps. Okay, for the next 3 to 4 days, try to do lot of trial and errors. And if you do any mistake, you no need to worry, you just can revert back to that state. Okay, so try to do lot of mistakes, don't worry about that. Okay, so do some trial and error kind of things. Okay, and once we set up the Active Directory, DNS, DHCP on second VM, so we need to install Windows Server. Already that's anyhow cloned, right? Okay, join to domain. Okay, so join to domain. That means by default that any of the VMEs or any of the Windows is in the work group, but we need to join that to domain. To which domain we need to join is, we have installed our domain controller, right? In that we have created that domain. To that domain we are going to join this second server. Okay, and login as domain user. Don't log in as a local administrator kind of thing. login as the domain user itself. Okay, so that means we are creating one domain, right? With the domain user or domain admin, we are going to log in, but that user should have still that local admin permissions also for the installation for these job roles. Okay, so then once we join to this, we need to mount Citrix ISO. Okay, so once we keep that Citrix ISO, we can install a controller, studio, all these components we are going to install on this machine. Okay, so I'll share this video, sorry, this steps also. So now what you need to do is, so what you need to do, so first download workstation, install that, and mostly you can use the trial version itself, but that is free of cost. Okay, previously it required licensing also, but now they're giving VMware Workstation at a free of cost itself. Once you install, download Windows Server ISO. Okay, maybe VMware Windows, sorry, VMware tools also we need to download. But if you have any problem, we'll solve that issue. Okay. So then for Windows Server, you no need to, you just go to, say, Windows Server, which version you want. I'm using 2019. Directly that you can download it. Okay, I choose an ISO download. Yeah, that's automatically that is getting downloaded.
Sir, could you share this link in the chat?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So in the same way, say VMware Workstation also. Say VMware Workstation also you can download. Okay. So this is also, it's a almost, it's a free software. Okay. So these all try to keep the setup, and try to install the VMs, then snapshot, cloning, VMware tools. Okay, revert back to the snapshot, assigning the resources, like in the settings we can attach CPU, memory, then what is NAT, bridge, host, all this if we discuss. Then when we create a VM, okay, so now here if you create a VM, mostly in the documents or somewhere that in the virtual missions, excuse me. So now here my VM is created. For this VM, mostly the hard disk file is called as a virtual disk file. Is the virtual disk file we have. Then snapshot files, log files. Okay, so these files also like technically that VM has been installing and running on this files it is running. Okay, if you have the more snapshots, more files it is creating, and some log files also there, log files, so that all these extensions also will discuss. So what are the files are getting created with the VM. On the hypervisor, that means on the vSphere, the files are little different. On the workstation, the files are different. Okay, so that's where you are installing that files. On that, make sure you have enough space is there. Unnecessary files, all those remove. Okay, so till this, everyone try to set up on your environment. Okay, so if you at least if you have a clean VM, how to install AD, DNS, DHCP. I'll share one more video. So that's also try to finish. Otherwise, tomorrow I'll show that steps. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No.
Okay. Sure. Tomorrow we'll connect. Yeah,
Okay,
Sai,
sir.
what is your number, Sai? Hello? Are you there, Sai? Okay. Sure. Then tomorrow we'll connect.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, what are the timings, sir? Like 8 to 9 itself or
No,
8
no,
to 9?
no, no. After we set up all this, we'll take more time.
Okay.
Okay. I'll share previous videos also. Those also parallelly finish.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Sure.
So, would you create any group chat
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us?
I'll create today. Today I'll create today or tomorrow. We'll create it.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. What about others? Any doubts? So Rishikesh, do you have like a laptop is there? What is the configuration? Rishikesh? And Sanjeev, what is your laptop configuration?
Sir, my laptop is 16 GB RAM and 500 GB hard disk
Yeah, then
storage.
you can do it. Okay. So try to set up all these.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Okay then. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Have a nice
Thanks.
day,
Yeah.
sir.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah.